and today I'd like to take you through the song Love and Spirit from Pig Iron's new album Blues Plus Power Equals Destiny. Hope you enjoy. Right, the first part in the song starts off with an acoustic interlude, which normally when I play live I'd actually end up using an electric because it's an easier setup to use, and it goes something a little bit like this. For this particular song, I'm using the Phrygian dominant scale, which very commonly has a very Eastern vibe to it, giving it quite a sinister edge to it. I thought it was a really nice way of opening up this particular song. Again, but this time actually putting that drop A into it, it gives it a real big overtone, so you actually get that fifth power chord underneath. So with the actual low B string added into it, it should sound something a little bit like this. For this particular line comes from songs like Forever My Ray Roam from Metallica's Black Album, which has a very, very similar use of the Phrygian dominant in there, and it gives a real sense of dread before the actual big riffs come in as well. Still keeping very melodic, but it just builds on tension really, so it kind of reprises the riff in a slightly more twee fashion, so when it comes in on a big rumbling low B, it's really, really going to sound heavy. Now we've looked at the intro, let's see if we can reprise the same melody, but this time using the low A string, which will be, in my context, my 7-string guitar, with the low B drop down full tone into the tone of A. So it should sound a little bit like this. And the riff goes something a little bit like this. And let's break down that riff. The riff I'm actually using is based around, once again, the Phrygian dominant, but I'm using a few outside intervals. Predominantly played around the octave from the 12th fret in the key of A, and I kind of pivot between the root note going to the flat second, which would be my B flat, and then going behind for my note G, which intervallically would be root, flat second, and flat seventh. I then actually put in a major sixth. Which is more commonly associated with modes like Mixolydian, and a lot of blues players tend to use it as well because it gives a nice scoop to it. But then I'll modulate back into my flat sixth and then play through the Phrygian dominant for the rest of the riff. So I'll play through it once again. Here's my first mode going through, let's say, the Phrygian dominant. And then put in the slight tail, implying the sixth into it. Okay, which gives it a nice twist to it. And then on from there, I'm straight back into, which is back into my riff. A little bit of lift. What I do is I start off in the lower register, and then when I put my tail end in, which comes across around bar 4 in the song, I actually base it, rather than on the low A, I actually go across my traditional A, which would be my 5th string. And putting the riffs together should sound a little bit like this. You get a real contrast between which players like John Petrucci use quite often. If you check out the Change of Seasons EP and listen to the title track, the main refrain in that does a very, very similar idea, and it gives it loads of dynamic, once again loads of colour, and that's exactly what I wanted to bring to this. And another live trick I tend to do is, rather than having it as just a straight single note melody, because I'm now using the 7 string, which I didn't usually use in the recording, I can apply a barred power chord, which commonly associated with the 6th string would be, let's say you drop D, I'm actually dropping my B down to an A, so I can get that barred effect. So here's the riff once again, but with a variation with the double stopped power chord idea. Kind of verging along sort of a sugar feel there, but it's great fun, really, really cool. Now, a little story into this song is when we were recording in the album in Torag Studios in Hackney, I was actually using a baritone guitar to actually double track a lot of these riffs, because the tuning being so low on a standard 6 string, this note of A would tend to flap a lot, and when I actually got down to the lower register and hit the open A in that case, it didn't keep its tuning, and consequently sound very good on the record. So what I actually had to do, funny enough, I had to borrow a bass string off the used guitar, and move my guitar from a 46 all the way to a 60, just to actually keep the tension of the riff. And because of the nut not being big enough to really facilitate the bass string for a long period of time, this is why now, when I use my live setup, a 7-string guitar, and here I'm using the EVL Z47 model, and done me very well nice from the people of court. And the really nice thing about this guitar is that because it's got the passive EMGs, it actually gives me quite a lot of string separation going between the clean section, the twee section I played earlier, and the big heavy riff that I'm actually demonstrating now. So yeah, there's some handy tips there for having a 7-string, also passive pickups, which is not everyone's metal head favourite, but for myself, you actually get a lot more control and diversity and dynamic from it. So for my needs, it actually suits really nicely. Right, anyway, that's the end of our first half. Join me back for the second half, where we're looking at the guitar solos and the chords lining behind it. Keep rocking.